really wonder where his brain was when he was thinking of the name midsize sedan.
Apparently he was inside of a white person.
Welcome to Movie Pain or Pleasure
It's a
Podcast.
bag of dicks.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to have a good old-fashioned hate watch, especially with the world today, which is one big trash heap dumpster fire, and everything is going wrong. So sometimes, instead of watching something uplifting, we like to watch something that makes us really aggravated and is something to make fun of. So I'm your co-host, Melanie, and for this podcast, I'm having a stiff drink because fuck this movie. So I'm having some of this little bottle of Jameson because a little bit packs a punch. And I am joined by AJ. What are we talking? What's that face for?
I don't know.
We
had this
oh,
whole.
God, this is strong.
We had this whole video planned for like end of the world, everything's burning down, just stuff to get your mind off terrible things.
You know, like
because this is America.
Gas prices and bodily autonomy and the war in Ukraine and global warming and need I go on?
So we were gonna do that, and then I looked on HBO and Old was up. I was like, oh shit, we gotta watch this. And at first we weren't even gonna take notes, and like 10 seconds in, 20 seconds in maybe, we were just like, oh fuck. We're not watching this again. That's why no, we have to take notes now. I'm not watching this movie again. It's a bag of dicks.
Oh God, it was aggravating and infuriating and also entertaining at the same time. There were actually parts that I kind of liked. I think I ended up liking this movie more than AJ did. It's infuriating. It's awful.
It makes me angrier knowing what I know now about the graphic novel.
Yeah, so Old is a 2021 film by M. Night Shyamalan, who gave us The Sixth Sense, Split, Glass, and also The Happening.
It's one of his worst.
It's one of his worst. Oh. He either knocks it out of the park or it just completely...
He's weird.
Falls.
Like, I think all of his bad movies for me are hate watches. Mm-hmm. I don't think I can guilty pleasure any of his bad movies.
No, because they're so infuriating, and one of his things that he really seems to struggle with is realistic dialogue. We talked about this when we did our Ring 2 episode, and we said that that movie was basically an honorary M. Night Shyamalan movie because the dialogue was so wooden and unrealistic.
And the child, for no good reason, talks like he's a 70-year-old professor.
He had a once-in-a-lifetime thing with Haley Joel Osment. He was wonderful in The Sixth Sense, and I totally believed... He was very precocious, but I also believed that he was a little kid. That he was just a realistic little kid. I could see him being a real character. He's never been able to duplicate it since then.
I hate the child in this.
Yeah, I hate the child in this. I'm glad he grows up.
Which, it's probably not the kid's fault. Probably.
Yeah, he's shitty parents.
Might be a little bit the kid's fault. I don't know. But maybe if Haley Joel Osment played this part, I would like it.
Maybe. I fucking hate him.
So, my first note for this movie is obnoxious bad writing. And your first note is pretty similar.
Resort, terrible dialogue.
And then, fuck this kid.
Yeah, fuck this kid.
Okay.
You took away her spontaneity.
Yeah, so there's a mom and a father. The father is played by Gabriel Garcia Bernal, and that's really the only actor I paid attention to that I knew that I've seen in other things. One of the characters was the antagonist in A Knight's Tale, and that's all I know him from.
And the nurse was Quill from X-Men 3.
Yes. So that's your claim
No one
to
liked
fame.
that one anyway.
So Gabriel Garcia Bernal, or Gael Garcia Bernal. Sorry, I got his first name wrong. Gael Garcia Bernal. So anyway, he and his wife and his 2 kids are driving to a resort, and the girl is about 12, and she's singing a song, and then she stops for some reason, and the little boy...
her mom compliments it.
Something like that, and then he says something like, her spontaneity has left her.
Sing it, girl.
Mom. No, I can't. Her spontaneity has been stripped from her.
This is supposed to be a 6-year-old kid. So, and then the dad kind of sounds like a radio announcer when he's chasing the kids around the hotel room, and I don't know if that's just...
Porque sí! He's like that.
Do you know that this is the biggest cause of accidents? And, is this just how you sound in English, or is this just the writing?
Just, no one speaks like a person.
Stop wishing away this moment.
Lead by actions, Mom.
Look how big you guys are.
I can do a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, which is a considerable thing to do. I collect conch shells. I have 42 conch shells. Amazing.
There's 250,000 furniture-related injuries in the United States per year. 25% of those, coffee table injuries. Hey! Hey!
Fine.
Okay.
The number of times I heard people talk or ask or say the word occupation or everything surrounding it, I wish I had as many number of grenades.
It sounds
and I would
very
blow
much.
up a museum.
Yeah,
It's so fucking...
Okay, if you're a writer, sometimes, and I've caught myself doing this, you write in a way that people maybe think or read, but it's a challenge to write how people actually speak. And I know in my own book, I had to catch myself on dialogue or even thoughts, just like, is this what really happened, or is this what a real person would sound like? And I think with some of these screenwriters, they can tell a story. George Lucas. They can tell a story, but they can't write dialogue for shit. It doesn't sound realistic. It sounds very static, cardboard cutout. Not how real people sound.
And M. Night Shyamalan's gone this far into his career and never figured out to get somebody to back him up.
Yeah, because
Like,
he can weave a story.
Come on, man. Like, get somebody else to proofread this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking...
So they go to this resort, and it seems wonderful. It seems like paradise. They hand them drinks. Like, oh, we have your favorite cocktails for you. They've got stuff for the kids to do. They have beautiful beaches. And immediately you know something's weird.
And they also have conversations about dead divorced people.
Not yet.
Sort of.
Because, well, at one point, maybe this happened. I can't remember what happened first. We just watched this yesterday, but I'm trying to block it out of my mind. The kids make friends with a little boy named Idlib, and he is the nephew, I think, of the main kind of concierge of the hotel, and so they become friends, and they have little games where they pass coded notes to each other.
And they go around asking everyone on the beach, what is your name and what's your occupation?
What's your name and what do you do for a living?
Hey guys, I'm in another.
Bye. Hi, I'm Trent. This is Idlib. What are your names and what do you do for a living?
Yes,
That's what a 6-year-old would say to a random person on a beach.
Yeah, these two little kids run up and interrupt people on their holiday and say, what is your name and what is your occupation? And everybody's very, like, oh, this is so cute. I'm this and I'm a cop. I'm this and I'm a dancer. And I'm this and I'm a flight attendant.
Dancer.
I wouldn't be mean to a little kid that asked me that, but I would certainly be annoyed. I don't like talking about work when I'm on vacation.
This kid's parents never taught him stranger danger whatsoever. He was just running up to
Did
everybody
Stranger
on...
Danger go away after
Like-
the 90s? I was raised in the 80s, and I still have Stranger Danger. I'm like, and when the little kids talk to me, I'm like, why the fuck are you talking to me? I could totally kidnap you right now. Go away for your own safety. I don't want to kidnap you because I don't want you around.
I feel like... We'll get to what the ending is. I feel like he wrote the script, and then he wanted an easy tie-in for the last scene. Mm-hmm. So he went back and he added this weird quirk with this kid.
Because
so it ties it all in nice and tight. But it's weird as fuck.
It really is. It's just annoying. And so throughout the movie, as the characters get into more and more peril and you start unraveling the mystery, I said about halfway through the movie, in a better written movie, they would come back to this kid asking the name and occupation and saying, oh, he always memorizes these things about people, that might be useful information that they could use to get out of their predicament. And like a lot of this movie, you're just impatiently waiting for things to get resolved. And you don't want it resolved too quickly because that's not satisfying. But it's just like it takes forever for things to get done. And so that comes into play, but like AJ said, it's like the last scene of the movie.
The only thing that keeps it in your mind is that people keep talking about their jobs once peril begins. For no reason. And M. Night Shyamalan did no fucking research on what any of those jobs entail. Except for the nurse, maybe. Like, the nurse was okay. Because he was just sort of, like, checking people for whatever they needed checking. The doctor didn't. He never gave a shit. And, like, directing the doctor.
I just have fuck off written there because it's not, little kids asking annoying questions is just something that's kind of part of life. But it's weird. And I hate talking about work. I hope he gets super old and dies. And I had a moment of like, you know what I hate about this kid? He reminds me of Aiden from The Ring. And I freaking hate that kid. So the parents are in the hotel room and they're having a very loud argument when they know that the children are right there next door. And so we find out that I think...
When are we gonna tell them?
Yeah, when are we going to tell them that this is our last vacation before their lives
and they're
fall
on
apart?
the other side of the door.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, what about the tumor? They don't need to know about the tumor. It has nothing to do with us getting divorced. What?
Yeah.
And they're just like, I'm gonna just fucking dissect some coded language here and pretend my parents aren't dying and getting divorced.
Yeah, that was very confusing. Like, you don't have to... This is always the balance of, I like a little bit of exposition, but then when you just are so vague, I don't know what anything's going on. It makes me, I don't care about the characters. I'm not invested in the story. So she doesn't even mention a tumor at that point. She just says, like, a medical condition. And this doesn't have anything to do with us.
You don't know which one it is.
You don't know which parent has the medical condition. We just know that they are in the process of separating.
We agreed. We'd give them one last vacation before telling them.
I can't understand why we don't take into consideration.
That shouldn't affect anything. The doctor said it's a non-factor. It's probably been there for years, he said. We were on a course to separate. That's confusing enough for us. Let's not bring an irrelevant medical condition into this. Let's get through this, Guy. Compartmentalize. It's only for 3 days.
You found the place?
Yes.
Oh, Priska, come on.
You're always thinking about the future. It makes me feel not seen.
You're always thinking about the past. You work in a goddamn machine.
So then it cuts to this chick on the beach, and I can't really tell if it's dusk or dawn. The light, either way, the lighting's like, this is prime time getting eaten by a
It
shark.
doesn't just
lighting.
cut to. It interrupts. Like, there's no flow. It immediately is just like there, and it's this dude watching this girl.
Yeah, and she
slowly take her clothes off and get in the water.
She takes her swimsuit off, and she swims into the beach, and he just has this confused look on his face. And that's the end of that really quick scene.
Which is why I'm wearing my chain, because he had a chain. That's the only thing I bothered doing. Because fuck this fucking stupid movie.
So we cut back.
And his name,
let's go ahead and say it,
is Mid-Sized Sedan.
Okay. And so now we had to do a little bit of research. This is based partially on a graphic novel called Sandcastle. And I was wondering, because I thought, is this just really shitty M. Night Shyamalan writing to come up with such a stupid name like that? Or was this like a character in a graphic novel so I could forgive him? No, it's a character with a totally different name who's a jeweler from Algeria. So, but
and
he changes him
instead,
to...
he's like, I'm gonna just be white for a second and come up with the most stereotypical made-up thing that maybe a white person would have written in the 90s. These black rappers, they just come up with silly names.
Yeah, so...
Mid-sized sedan. Not
Yes.
even Escalate or something specific, just...
I think he was trying to be funny, but the joke fell flat.
It just... And, oh, well, fuck it. We'll get to it.
No? Okay.
Continue.
We cut to a very bitchy lady at a table with... There's no setup. It's just cuts to her bitching at a waiter, and her daughter is sitting there just kind of oblivious next to her.
I dubbed her Calcium.
I'm going to have to bleep that for the podcast.
I had to say it. This bitch orders a specific drink and then proceeds to ask what's in it and is it actually what it's called or is it just a fancy name? She's like, I want the calcium juice. Is it really a calcium juice? Because I have a fucking calcium deficiency. Bitch.
Yeah.
She basically almost talks exactly like that to the waiter. He's just like, yeah, it's full of calcium-rich vegetables. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, and she's one of those women, and I'm trying not to... This is a real human being, this actress who played this character, but she's one of those women who thinks she's hot just because she's super skinny. And she's not... all that in a bag of chips.
She looks unhealthy.
She just is a skinny chick. And the way they cut to other people in the restaurant, and it was very confusing because at first they showed an old lady and a man who looked to be maybe late 40s, early 50s. And I had no idea until later that he was the husband of this bitchy woman, and that woman was his mother.
I swear to God.
So they were all one family at a table.
I thought
but the editing was so bad I couldn't tell that those people were all a family.
Oh, I thought it was just this weird couple of people, like maybe a mother and a son watching.
Yeah.
Like,
there was
this
no connection.
Woman be a bitch and have her daughter right there, because she says some shit that you wouldn't expect.
You wouldn't
her
say
to
that in front of a 6-year-old.
Like, well, don't get fat, honey, or boys won't like you.
Don't want to get fat.
That's not for you to worry about. You will never know if you are attractive. It's up to a man to tell you that. You keep eating, and I'll tell you when to stop.
So not only is he a bad writer, he's a terrible writer, M. Night Shyamalan also can't set up a shot. Because multiple times, it's either spinning for no reason, or we don't know what's in the shot. Like, we don't even know who's talking to who. A lot of the time, the shot is not on the focus of the scene. For most of the scene, and it's not building anything up. It's just annoying the fuck out of me. M. Night fucking sucks!
So speaking of
So
M.
angry.
Night, he's got his little cameo. So the concierge has gone around to a couple of people like, oh, we've got a very exclusive private beach that we only tell a couple of our really special guests about. How would you like to go? So, of course, all the main characters get into the van. We've got the family of the mother and father and the 2 kids, the parents that are getting divorced, and then the bitchy woman, her daughter, and her doctor husband and his mother, and then the couple with the nurse Jaren, who insists that we know his name is Jaren, and his wife, who had the epileptic seizure. And they get in this van, and M. Night Shyamalan, who always likes to do little cameos in his movies, is the driver. And so he goes on about how they have picnic baskets. It was like, kids love to eat. You gotta have food for all your kids. And between him and Gael Garcia Bernal's dialogue, it made me think of, this is very weirdly specific, in Get Out, there's the character that's the groundskeeper.
She is lovely, isn't she? Top of the line. A real doggone keeper.
And he's very awkward and, you're gonna have a fine time with this young lady. And that's what the characters sound like. It's because in that situation, it was a very fucked up situation, and so anyway, that's kind of how the dialogue with M. Night Shyamalan's character is. And so he drops them off at the beach, and by this time we all know, I mean, everybody who's heard about this movie knows what the premise is, so I'm just kind of like, okay, I'm waiting, get to the part where they all start aging.
That's part of what made it so annoying, is because once they do start the aging thing, so they do that. This is really obnoxious as fuck. They refuse to show the kids. So they keep putting the camera, like, right behind them, like, at shoulder level, where you can't see anything in the shot. And it's a bad shot from a direction point of view, and we know they're older. It's not, like, a big fucking deal for us.
It's not a big reveal, we all know.
They're not tricking us with their voices. There's no reason to not show us.
It takes a while to set up
Even
what happens.
Even after they've already aged, they do it again. Later.
Yeah, so at first it feels like it's really dragging, like, and I get it, you know, in a better written movie, you want to build up a little bit of, like, oh, everything's fine, everything's good. The main couple is just kind of trying to ignore each other, and, like, I guess they're still trying to see if they can salvage their marriage, and the wife asks a funny question. She looks at her husband and says, well, what book am I reading? Like, I read all the time. I read every night. And I don't think that's...
Bitch, I don't know.
That's a beacon of our relationship.
Well, that's the way he answered.
I mean, do you know what book I'm reading right now?
The Everest thing?
No, I'm reading a book by the Everest guy. I mean, I get what it was going for, of, like, you know, they're so disconnected, they don't know anything about each other. But that's what you have to ask, is what could it be? When was the last time we had a conversation? Or tell me the last restaurant we went to with just us as a date.
No, nothing.
Something a little more
nothing that makes sense.
Something more intimate than what book am I reading?
Nothing that humans do.
Yeah, and meanwhile, mid-sized sedan this whole time has been cowering over by the rocks. Now there's the beach, and they're surrounded by these big cliffs, and he's kind of been sitting there huddled the whole time.
I just realized something.
What?
It doesn't make any sense that he is still alive as long as he is.
Right.
Because he's been there all night.
Yes, he has. He's been there the whole time, but you don't really start to see the aging process until all the other main characters are there, and he's been there for several hours.
So, bad writing again?
Just
Bad storytelling?
A lot of loose ends. You know, if you're going to make up rules when you're world building, you have to be able to either choose the ones you're going to break, or you have to be able to follow them.
This is
and
not
look
the way
for,
you said rules.
You have to look for if you create rules, you also have to look for those loopholes. So the girl starts freaking out. She's like, "Oh my God, Dad, that's mid-sized sedan." And AJ looks at me and says, "Please tell me that's a made-up name so I can make fun of it and not feel bad. Like we didn't want to. Like, what if this guy is really a rapper named Mid-sized Sedan and he's just doing a cameo as himself?"
I totally forgot that I said that shit.
You were furious.
I was emphatic. I was like, I need to know this person isn't a real thing because I don't want to talk shit about a real rapper trying to make it as an actor or something. And then as soon as I found out, I was like, that's fucking stupid.
It is really stupid.
Dumbest made up name with no fucking flair.
No context. Like, I want to write rap for everybody.
Even if it's,
everybody who can afford it.
Even if it sounds random, most rappers' names, there's something different. You know, like Exhibit, like
Lil Nas X.
Like, there's something, but it's not just a fucking noun.
Mid-sized sedan. I mean, again, in a better written movie, and maybe in a comedy, that could have been pulled off. But with this one, it's just like, why? And again, that character was not anywhere close. Like, I feel like, and sometimes in the way this character is written, like, you had a black guy.
Damn.
Yeah, all he says is like, damn.
Oh, damn.
Oh, damn. Like, come on,
That's
dude.
all he says the whole time. And we can point it out because nobody else says it. Nobody else talks like that in the movie. It's just him.
So
they do have one good black joke in there.
Yeah, there is something funny that he says. So Trent, then peril starts to happen. So Trent goes off to kind of play in a tide pool, and the woman who was Mid-sized Sedan's companion bumps into him. She's dead. So they drag her body out of the tide pool. And so things start to go crazy. They try to they're like, okay, screw this. We're going to get off this beach and go call the authorities and get help. So Jaren and his wife go into the cave, or in one of the cave that's the exit that they'd walk through. But then they start to get these really horrible headaches and they black out and they find themselves back on the beach. So they try that a couple of times and they realize they're stuck. And then Charles, who is the doctor, immediately they start blaming Mid-sized Sedan and saying like, oh, you must have killed her. We're going to keep an eye on you. Then what's starting to happen is the kids start to grow. You don't see the aging process happen as rapidly with the adults, but the kids are of course growing really fast. And Priska, who is the main guy, is the main guy. Gail Garcia Bernal. His name's Guy, his wife's name is Priska, and she keeps insisting, saying there's something wrong with the children. And she goes up to Charles, and this is where some of the bad writing comes in, because he's trying to help this woman, and he says, is it severe? I don't have time for this. Like, in the same breath.
It's the same thing as his wife with the answer before the question. Like, I'm going to tell you what I want, but then I'm going to backtrack and ask you a question.
It's like...
He's going to ask something he needs to know and then cut you off immediately.
It's like that bad writing in Step Up 6 and that part where the guy goes, hey, why don't we challenge them on the internet? And they go immediately to the next character who's like, this is my last idea. Why don't we challenge them on the internet?
Anyway, it is, he could have fixed it with just one little rewrite of... Is it severe? Because I don't have time for this. That's all you would have to do. Because the word because. Fucking because. That's all.
Just put the word in there.
Just one word. Just have people read the damn script and go like, huh, that's not how humans talk. Shit.
But the bad writing gets funnier. I'll get to that in a minute. So the old lady, who is Charles' mother... dies, and the kids are getting older, and then they discover that mid-sized Sedan's girlfriend's body decomposed very, very quickly. So they're starting to kind of figure out that time is moving.
He does have a good line
at a
where
rapid
he's like,
pace.
I assume you're not going to blame me for that.
Oh,
'Cause
for the body
yeah.
decomposing? Yeah. So then we start to realize that weird things are happening, and I had a note in here that said, this would work as a 30-minute Twilight episode. Twilight Zone episode. And because Twilight Zone episodes, we like to watch the old ones from the 60s, they have these crazy premises that don't make any sense. They bend the rules of space and time and supernatural, blah, 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 and you don't have time to question it. You just kind of accept it as it is.
It's just...
And then it's over.
It's just the scenario. And there's a lot of animes that do this too. They just have this weird thing that's happening.
There's no explanation, it just is.
It's nothing like, we're gonna figure out the root. Sometimes you might figure out, like, technically, like, what's the cause so I can do the thing, but not, like, how. Like, it's kind of magic-y or whatever. Or horns.
Yeah,
horns.
It just is.
There just is horns on somebody's head that makes people act devilish.
Yes.
No fucking... Like, I'm gonna figure out how it happened. It's not possible. You came up with an idea that is impossible. So do not try to Star Trek your way to an answer.
And they spend a lot of time trying to figure out the scientific explanation as to what's going on.
But the infuriating part isn't... It's like, they don't pick things that you could do anything about or that even make sense. Like... If we start aging for no fucking reason, one, I'm probably going to assume I'm high as shit, which I never am, so...
I would be jealous.
But, let's just say it happened. I'm not going to pick the first thing in my arsenal as the answer to be like, there are mosquitoes in this area and they're making my hormones.
Yes, Charles kept
age.
insisting that it was a virus or it was mosquitoes or something. The kids ate something, which maybe, okay, you're in a desperate situation. This is where I become an apologist for the movie. You're grasping at desperate straws.
But none of them are even sort of plausible.
No.
And nobody calls each other out. I wish one person would have just looked at the doctor of all people who said it's mosquitoes and they're making
Like,
their...
that's fucking stupid.
Yeah, just be like, you're a fucking doctor?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
He's a cardiothoracic surgeon. So he, meanwhile, after his mother dies, he takes a knife and slashes at mid-sized Sedan's face.
Doctor, before we do anything else, can you take a look at our children, please? He's got a knife!
There's a damn hole in my cheek.
Put that down right now, Doctor.
Watch out, Jared!
Listen, I don't know why I did that. I thought he was going to hurt me. Sorry. Sorry.
What's he talking about, sorry?
Let me see that laceration.
Man, that's assault, man!
Calm down. What's your name?
Mid-sized sedan. I must be in shock. I'm numb. I'm not feeling the pain no more.
Please, let me see.
And the cut heals immediately. So we're like, okay, we're starting to figure out maybe how the rules of this island
He
work.
also did that with no reason. Which
No reason,
will
really
come up as
unprovoked.
the movie goes on.
Yeah, but then was it like, does he think that Midsize killed his girlfriend, and so he's gonna? He kept saying, "Oh, he's gonna steal my silverware. He's gonna steal my stuff."
Yeah,
I'm
he's
like, are you
gonna-
just racist, or are there other things going on? So then
Is
this
this before or after the dog?
This is right before the dog, and this is the funniest part in the movie. So the dog dies. Hilarious. So the dog dies off screen, and this is the best part. And the doctor says, "He was only just alive." God damn it.
But
God damn it, M. Night. Come on. He was only just alive.
Hey, did you hear? Phil Davis died. Phil Davis? I just saw him yesterday. Yeah. Didn't help. He died anyway.
It's
It's
not...
awkward wording.
It's...
It's not how people talk. So Priska's cancer is growing very rapidly because time is moving very quickly and they're aging. So Charles, who cut Midsize in the face and said the dog was only just alive, is a cardiothoracic surgeon. So he tries to excise the tumor in her abdomen, and the cut heals itself immediately. So he's like, yeah, just stick your fingers in there and hold the incision open.
Well, they asked to get alcohol, and then they never used it.
Yeah, he said, I need alcohol and something else. And he didn't do anything to try to sterilize.
They could have even
just shown him.
Pour some vodka on your hands.
Yeah, shown him trying to clean his hands or something. Nope, I'm just going to take this dirty pocket knife, cut into her abdomen.
That he had just cut somebody else with.
Yeah, so
it's got somebody else's blood on it, too.
Which that's going to contradict itself later.
I call bullshit on the tumor. I'm sorry, but there's no fucking way this tumor... the thing they pulled out was the size of a football. It would have shoved all her organs all the way over. She would have been dead before it got that big.
And you could kind of tell that at first it's like, it's the size of a golf ball. It's the size of a grapefruit. It's the size of a cantaloupe. So time is passing.
They pulled a fucking football out.
And they're starting to figure this out. So this is when they figure out that the girlfriend had, the dead girlfriend had decomposed. And so they figure out...
It's a contradiction.
How?
At some point, they were starting to wonder, like, well, why aren't... They notice they're getting older, which is why the kids are eating so much, even though it still doesn't make sense. If you exist, you need to eat.
Yeah, why wouldn't everybody else be eating rapidly too?
They're like, oh, well, what about our fingernails and our hair? Well, technically they're dead materials, so they're not affected. Okay, why did that girl disintegrate?
Because that's all dead tissue.
You know why? They needed some way to figure out time.
Yeah,
that is the only reason that he wrote in that her body decomposes. That way, the museum lady, who we know because she told us,
Priska,
probably more than once, that works at a museum. Oh, well, she must have died. That equals like 7 years or something, and they figure out an hour is 2 years.
30 minutes is 7 years.
No,
so 30 minutes is 1 year. Okay.
An hour is 2 years.
Stop breaking my brain with that math, witch.
An hour is 2 years.
30 minutes is 1 year.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, I have 7 years written down. I was confusing myself. And this is when Midsize, whose real name is Brendan, says, first time they wish they were black. Black don't crack.
That's an actually good joke.
That
was funny.
That was pretty funny. So cut to the kids. So the kids have grown into mature adults, probably about 18 years old or so. Ugh. So Kara, who was Charles and the bitchy woman's daughter, was about 6, and she looks like she's about 19 now. We see her just gobbling pasta salad by the handful. Cut pan down, she is hugely pregnant.
Kara, what did you do?
We were just playing. It's okay. I just got a little fat.
So she and Trent had been sent off to the tent so they'd be away from the dead bodies.
Also,
and
why did the food not age?
So some Blue Lagoon action happened, and the kids started to play around with each other. So...
And they sort of, knew what they did.
They kind of knew...
Trent said that, I thought you had to try, a bunch of times to get pregnant.
They knew that what they did made babies.
So... What?
Yeah.
Weirdly well-informed 6-year-old.
I think I was about 7 or 8 when I asked my mom how that worked, and she told me, and I was like, okay, now I know. I don't want to think about it.
I'm gonna guess this 6-year-old walked in on his parents.
Ew.
And didn't care. And continued to have a conversation.
He wrote, scientific field notes about it or something.
It's like, you guys can get back to what you're doing when I'm done.
Okay.
But when's the expiration date on the milk in there? I need to know.
Yeah, so the food doesn't disintegrate immediately. Okay, so meanwhile, Charles the doctor starts to sound a little funny. They're dealing with all these weird situations like, okay, oh my god, Kara grew up and now she is about to give birth to a baby. And he's just like, what was that movie with Marlon Brando and some other character?
God, I hated this.
So...
I fucking hated
what I
this.
thought, and it turns out it was something entirely different, just poorly written. I thought maybe it was he was getting early onset dementia and he was trying to hide it and then he'd start to say, oh, they're not going to let me work at the hospital anymore. These people are trying to steal my stuff.
He was. He absolutely was getting early onset dementia.
That's what it seemed like to me.
100% what that diagnosis would have been.
Let's wait and say what...
I'm not a fucking doctor, but I know for a fact people that start to get into the dementia stage, they can be very short with people. They get aggressive, and they have short-term memory loss first, not long-term in the beginning. And, okay, if he wanted to do this, which...
Let's not say what his real diagnosis was yet.
I know.
Yeah.
But if he wanted to do this correctly, if he had stuck with early onset dementia, which it is, even though that's not what he says, he should have gone with something about his mother who had just died. He should have been asking questions that we know, but he
like,
is losing
where's
memory
my mom? I want to
yeah,
ask her a
things
question.
like that. Like, to make us go like, what's up? Like, it's just weird. That's not the type of random, maybe every once in a while, but like the same exact. No, it was a movie with Marlon Brando and Jack Nicholson. He does it like 4 times.
Yes, it was very annoying.
It's infuriating.
Yes, so then...
You know who does it? You know who does it perfect? To represent Alzheimer's or dementia? Rasslecock.
Oh, God. Castle Rock.
Yeah.
The show.
We hate that show.
We hate that show, but the portrayal by Sissy Spacek of a woman going through Alzheimer's
In that
was...
one episode.
There was one episode...
It's like the episode before the last one or something. It's towards the end.
Yeah.
And it's just her dealing with dementia, and it's awesome.
What her day is like, and it's kind of infuriating, but then it's like, this is how this person's brain operates, and so they really try to put you in the shoes of a person going through that. It was very, very creative.
That did it better.
That did it much better. The rest of the show sucked, but that episode was incredible. So then, this is where it gets really absurd. Kara has her baby, and then immediately, the woman who has epilepsy picks up the little bundle and says, "The baby died from lack of attention."
We put him on the towel to clean him up. He looked around and closed his eyes. We had him on the towel for 1 minute.
He died from lack of attention.
Things are moving too fast here for a baby to survive.
We only put it down for a minute. And so first I'm like, how do you
put it
know?
down?
How do you know that the baby died from lack? Maybe they were like trying to wrap him up in a towel
I mean, yeah,
or something.
that's it.
Or take the umbilical cord off.
My immediate thought would be it's from nutrition, not lack of attention. Because I think that would take several months. But anyway, yeah, like if the baby's born, they clean that motherfucker up.
Clean that fucking baby.
They immediately throw it on the mother. That's like the procedure.
Usually they put it on the chest to get warmth and skin-to-skin contact. But the way it was written and the way it was performed...
And shot.
Yeah.
Because we were never on that.
No.
We were... Which, I mean, I appreciate...
We were on Charles talking about Marlon Brando and Jack Nicholson, and all of a sudden, like, the baby died from lack of attention!
Screaming over here. Then we come over, and it's just a bundle that looks like there's nothing in it.
There's nothing in it. They just took a towel and wrapped it up.
They didn't even get the fake baby from that American Sniper movie.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Or the CG baby from the Twilight movie.
So, but what it reminded me of was, like, watching a not-so-great improv group, you know, like... They all come on, and the first person says, "It's Christmas Day, and Grandma's bringing over dinner." And the next person comes on and says, "The baby died from lack of attention." And I'm like, "Who had a baby?"
Really dark sense of humor.
Yeah, so, and I wrote, that's dark. I respect that. But it was performed so badly. It was written so badly. It was just happened so fast. And we're like, a baby just died. Can we give it a moment?
And then they just keep moving.
Immediately, we're like, fuck this baby. Let's go bury it.
Kara's mom already ran away, so that's a thing. So she's not dealing with it.
She's run off somewhere. Like, her daughter just had a baby that died. Trent's freaking out. He's the father of the child.
I think she was afraid of how fat her daughter was.
Oh. And also, remember, she has a calcium deficiency. And she's walking around with, like, a shroud over her head going, Kara, where are you? Because she doesn't want people to see that her face is aging.
Her fucking husband told her to put on makeup.
I'm like, she already has makeup. It's running down streaks on her face.
He was having a loss of thought moment.
I thought he was just being a dick.
And he was just like, huh? Put on makeup.
Yes. So then... out of nowhere, because everything in this movie just kind of happens out of nowhere because it's basically an improv comedy. Charles runs over with his little pocket knife and stabs mid-sized sedan to death. Those cuts didn't heal.
I debate in my brain. Not my mind, but my brain.
Later on, and I won't say why right now, there's a reason why I think he died, but it's
there's that.
Yeah.
But I don't know, because yes, everything was healing super quick, but it wasn't like healing super naturally. Like there would still be a scar.
Mm-hmm.
It was only healing super quick because it was like a month or whatever. It was a long time.
Oh.
After just or a week or whatever, which actually it was, they were probably healing too quick compared to the amount of time.
Probably.
But whatever. Okay. So if he was stabbing him all over the chest. I don't feel like it would heal. Yeah, it's weird. Like mid-size sedan. Probably, if we want to be really, like, realistic, just to be assholes, he probably should have passed out from blood loss from the cut on his face, and then immediately woken up.
Something like that.
Like,
but
it still had the same reaction to it as if it had been bleeding out and it's slowly healed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots of loose ends. So then Charles just kind of looks around like, I thought he was going to steal stuff from me. Like, oh, God, okay. So then Jaren decides that, remember, he's the nurse. He said, well, I was on the swim team in high school. They can't walk out of the beach. So he decides he's going to try to swim somewhere for safety.
And he came up with some weird
and it's like,
dimensions.
If this is the length, if everybody could swim like 100 lengths of a pool 20 times, they can surely make it to this other shore.
He was basically like, who feels like you can... And
it was a ridiculous distance, and the way it was worded, it sounded like it was sarcastic, like, well, yeah, who can swim 100...
I gotta look it up.
100...
Jaren asked sarcastic question unsarcastically.
Yes.
That's how it worked. He's like, okay, who feels like they can swim 100 laps in a 100-meter pool and get around the coast? Like, because that's probably the amount of distance where you can find another beach for some reason. I don't even know why he would just come up with that number, but yeah, there you go. And then eventually he's just like, well, I can do it. So
yeah, we're like, I thought he was setting it up like, of course, that's ridiculous. Nobody's gonna be able to. It's like, I was on the swim team in high school. I can do it.
Yeah, he was just on the swim team. He wasn't even like, I was a real good swimmer. He's just like, I was just there.
Yeah. So they start to figure out, because I do like a good mystery to unravel, and they start to try to figure out, okay, what do we all have in common? And they start to realize that at least one person in each family or couple has some kind of medical condition, because mid-sized sedan had said he had a blood clotting disorder, and he and that woman he was with had some kind of autoimmune disorder. They'd met, they connected, and he said, I wanted to come here to, connect with nature and feel like I was a bigger part of something. So they kind of start to figure out, okay, somebody has a medical condition.
Is that when he told us that his parents were this and that occupation for no fucking reason?
Yes, that they were wealthy and he went to boarding school.
He walked down the street screaming what his parents did for a living.
What's the matter, dog? You in Paris? This guy's a gangster? His real name's Clarence. And Clarence lives at home with both parents. And Clarence's parents have a real good marriage.
Yeah, since we all talk
because
about
it's
that.
so important to this movie.
So more deaths are happening. Yes, it's so important. This is, why do you want to talk about work so much? So Maddox kind of and she's a grown adult now. She kind of wanders out. She's the daughter. Wades out into the ocean and bumps into Jaren's body. He's dead. So what happens is, this is what happened to Mid-Size Sedan's girlfriend. If you try to leave the island, you go unconscious. So he started to swim, and he must have kind of lost consciousness and drowned. And so he's dead, and then Kara...
He had sort of come up with an idea to get out, and I think he totally botched.
Yeah, he had said, well, what if we walk through the cave really, really slowly? And they never visited that idea again.
But he also very stupidly was like, let's say we take...
8 hours?
Yeah, to just to walk out. Like, how slow can you...
Wouldn't 8 hours be 16 years?
Like, it ended up being like 20 years or something, what he was suggesting. Like, you want to walk for, 20 years worth of life out here?
Yeah.
I understand going slow. That's cool.
But he was going to go super slow. And so then he immediately nixes that idea and swims into the ocean. So he's dead. And then Kara, who was Charles's daughter who had given birth to the baby that died, decided she was going to try to climb the cliff. And so they're all screaming at her to stop and to come down. And you think it's going to work. And I'm sitting there going, oh, yeah, maybe it'll work. Well, when you try to leave the island, you lose consciousness. So she gets really super high, and then Trent is screaming at her to wake up, and you kind of see her head drop down, and then she just, pew, splat, falls down, and she's dead. So then it's nighttime. So the people that are left are Guy, Priska, and their kids, Maddox, Trent, and then Charles, who's the doctor who's starting to kind of lose his mind, and his wife, Crystal,
who
Kara's
is
parents.
a cave monster now.
She has turned into a cave monster, and we'll see her in a moment. So Charles is kind of losing it, and he starts slashing and stabbing at Guy,
who's going blind.
Who you start to see through his eyes. His vision is going blurry. Priska is starting to lose her hearing. So it's these poor, like, sad old people trying to save each other.
Also, all the makeup was shit.
Yeah, they didn't look much older, and then they just did. I guess they didn't want to do anything with wigs or gray hair.
That's
or
why they
anything
said
like
the thing about the dead skin.
Yeah, so
whatever.
the hair didn't change, which is a bunch of bullshit. So the kids run into the cave, and that's where Crystal is hiding.
Don't look at me! Turn off the light! I don't want to be seen!
So he keeps lighting a match, which makes me think of the end of the Time Machine, where the guy is down
Yeah.
underground with the Morlocks, and he's just like, oh, fuck these guys. And he keeps lighting matches over and over and over.
Okay, maybe...
So she's a Morlock.
Yeah, that's
Crystal's
okay.
a Morlock.
I'll give M. Night Shyamalan credit for making a Morlock scene.
I hope that's where that came from. I'm like, where did you get these matches first? Who has matches anymore?
Yeah, especially...
So Trent had
a
matches,
kid.
and he kept lighting it, and she's like, no, don't look at me, I'm hideous, and throws stuff at them. And so he keeps lighting a match
And then-
over and over and over, and then she starts chasing them, but she has a calcium deficiency. So by this time, she's hunched over, she has severe osteoporosis. She, like, knocks into the rocks, and you can hear her arms and her legs cracking and breaking, and they figure out that they're breaking, but they're healing so rapidly that they're healing in the wrong position. So her arms are all twisted.
Yeah, they're like 5 different points.
Yeah,
like,
it's gross.
fucking-
So she starts chasing
Ugh.
the kids, and this is where kind of the element of horror comes in. And they back them into a corner, and I guess she, like, at some point, maybe her rib cage cracks in on her heart or her lungs, and it's a very gross, awful death. So then, meanwhile, on the beach, Priska and Guy are still fighting with Charles. And earlier, the kids had found all this stuff that previous people had left, like a diary, some silverware, toys, things from people who had
Rusty
disappeared. So Priska comes up, slashes Charles, and says,
It's rust. It acts like poison when it gets into your bloodstream.
Because she has to explain how tetanus works.
Yes.
Like...
explain to this doctor how tetanus works.
Bitch. And then he takes a really long time to die, actually.
He does take a really long time to die.
If that's how... That would have been a few weeks worth of time. He should have just, like... Fucking, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if that's how time works.
No, it takes him a while.
But he
becomes-
really wanted to show this guy's body, like, turning into...
becoming all discolored, and he dies, and so then it's just the original family that's left, and so they sit on the beach for a while, and the parents kind of reconcile, and then they both fall over dead.
Yeah, I didn't care about their whole... That we get to know a little more about what's going on there, and I didn't give a shit.
But they kind of reconcile, and they both die. So now it's just Trent and Maddox, and by this time it's morning, and so they're just kind of saying, and they're all like, they're like 50-year-old adults now, and they're like, what are we gonna do? And finally he realizes Trent's got a decoded message from Idlib, the little kid.
That's not the last thing, though.
What's the last thing?
The last thing, before they get to the decoding, so he's like, okay, should we at least try to get out? And she's like, yeah, I guess. And he's like, we'll make a sandcastle first.
Yeah, and this is a callback to the original graphic novel was called Sandcastle, and so they have their moments in which it's much more. It doesn't end the same way. It just ends with everybody kind of growing old and dying on the beach, and then the baby survives and she grows up and realizes it.
Talk more about that.
But they make sandcastles because they're just like, what else am I gonna do?
Like I understand Trent doing that because he grew up at like 6 or 7 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
She's 12 when she starts getting
I
older.
would think we don't have
I feel
time
like
for
a
this.
12-year-old would have a sense of urgency.
Yeah. Like, no, we don't have time for this.
Like, no, let's not fucking make a sandcastle. We suck at them. It'll take forever.
Let's get out of here. But I guess that was a little homage to the original source material. So Trent's decoded message says, "My uncle doesn't like the coral." Now remember, Idlib's uncle was the main concierge guy. And so a couple yards away from the beach, there's this white coral. And so they swim out towards it. Fine, okay, that's good. They don't go unconscious. They're really trying to be like, stay head above water. And then they see that there's a passageway under the coral.
Well, they go under.
They go under first.
Immediately. They don't get air first and then come back down.
No, this is where, I mean, I'm a really good swimmer.
They're like deep sea diver type swimmers
I mean,
now.
I can't hold my breath for that long. So this is where I question it. Where it was, I'll believe a beach that ages people, but I won't believe that these people could hold their breath for this long. So they're swimming underwater. They see the coral passage. If I saw that, I'd think, okay, I better go up and get some air first, because I know I'm going to be swimming through this tunnel. They just swim on through it. And
until she gets caught on her shirt that she could just take off.
Yeah, so she gets caught, and so we think, oh no, maybe they drown. And so then it pans across to another little part of the island where someone's been watching the whole time, which they kind of alluded. Trent kind of guessed that there was a camera, somebody was watching. Well,
yeah, I think someone was like, I could see a cameraman up
yeah,
there.
they could see a guy up there watching. So then it's M. Night Shyamalan, and he gives us some exposition that he's been looking at case number 73, and the last of them have expired, and this case is closed. I'm going to pack up all my gear.
Good for him for being the dude that's like, I know I'm only 100 feet away from that spot, but I know I'm safe here. I'd be like, I'm not chilling up on that cliff and watching people. I might be losing years and not even realize it.
Yeah. So I guess it's just that one little strip of beach that is weirdly magical and keeps people there.
Because
and rapidly
magnets.
ages. Yes, magnets, yo. Magnets, bitch.
Fucking magnets. How do they work?
So he looks directly into the camera as he's saying this, which this happens a lot in this movie. People look
he does
directly in
that
the
a
cam-
lot
Yeah,
in
I
all
know,
of his
I know.
movies.
People look directly
Stop
in the camera.
getting in people's fucking faces for no reason.
Fuck!
So then this is where the big twist happens. And I actually kind of liked it. This movie is terrible. But I was like, if you're going to go this far, fine. He walks into this lab. And there are all these scientists and they're doing these experiments.
And they stole the scene from Glass.
What scene?
It's the same scene as the end of Glass.
I don't remember the end of Glass.
Well, continue explaining this scene.
Okay.
We'll...
So then, oh yes, now I remember because it has Sarah Paulson in it, and I hate every character she plays. It made me sad. I hated the end of Glass. So yeah, where she goes in and she explains everything that they were doing. So the concierge comes in and says, yes, I commend you on all the work you've done. So what has happened is somebody discovered that this beach rapidly ages people. So a big pharma company called Warren and Warren, little on the nose there, M. Night. This big pharmaceutical company decides to do these secret trials of drugs. And so, with normal, like, the COVID vaccine was one that was accelerated and things like that. But normally drug trials take many, many years. And so they would give people, the cocktails they give them right at the beginning when they come to the resort, it was really a medication that they were testing. So they would give medication to these people who they knew they had illnesses, and they would observe them over, let's say, a span of 16 years. Because, like, the epileptic woman dies at some point, and they said, well, we gave her a good 16 years of life without a seizure with this medication. And then they said, oh, no, the schizophrenic patient ruined the data we had on the blood clotting patient. So Charles, the doctor, was supposed to be schizophrenic. That was wildly inaccurate.
I'm related to a schizophrenic.
Does he act like that?
No. He hits himself. That's a thing. He speaks to things that we can't hear. Sometimes.
But does he act like he has early onset dementia?
No, he doesn't randomly just forget everything that's around him, other than just the general distraction, which might just be part of him.
But that's it. That really didn't seem like schizophrenia at all. So,
which schizophrenia has been misrepresented in most movies and film anyway. But like, it's about time somebody did some research on it and like actually did it right. A lot of people used to use schizophrenia to explain multiple personality disorder, which isn't even multiple personality disorder. It's DID.
Yeah. Dissociative identity disorder.
So,
which was probably wildly inaccurately depicted in Split, but we love Split, so...
I feel it was exaggerated, but not entirely inaccurate.
Yeah. Anyway.
In this, it's just flat out the wrong diagnosis.
Yes, but the blood clotting patient was mid-sized sedan, so that's when I thought, okay, maybe that's why he died, was because his blood couldn't clot when he was stabbed, so he couldn't
Or it
heal.
clotted too much.
And he died, for he bled to death too quickly for the cuts to heal. So that was the only thing I could think of. So that's the big reveal, is that it's a pharmaceutical company doing rapid trials on people because they figured out they could contain them for years at a time, when it's, maybe a day, but it's several years until they die.
I kind of wish M. Night would just stop trying to twist. Just stop twisting.
I kind of like... If you're going this far with this shitty movie, you might as well go big or go home. So I kind of liked that. And so Trent, but then, they think that Trent and Maddox died. We know they didn't. They show back up at the hotel, and this is finally, when his stupid little beach thing of asking people their occupation comes in handy. He walks up to this guy and he says, "You're a cop, aren't you?" And so they hand over a diary that they had found of somebody who had been there before, who had died.
And he took all the notes of who was there with him.
He took all the notes of the people who were there, and the guy starts, calling in missing persons reports and things like that, which you'd think, wouldn't there be records of all these missing people? And so...
Well, they said that the resort specifically makes sure, okay, you guys didn't bring your passports, right? You left them in your safes, in your rooms, because we don't want you losing stuff on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
So they had their passports there. They had people going through their info to delete all access to proving that they exist. But they also did this to a relatively well-known rapper.
Mm-hmm.
And they were making the assumption that nobody would tell anybody they knew where they were going.
Yeah, because Priska had said she heard about this resort, trying to say retreat, whatever, from a pharmacy, from a receipt.
A retreat for a receipt.
She was getting medication for her cancer, maybe, and it was like, hey, enter this sweepstakes to win a thing at a resort. So all these people had been kind of lured in. So the pharmaceutical companies knew that these people had these medical disorders, and so they were testing them, and that's what the cocktails were. So Trent remembers that, and then it was wrapped up very neatly. They put Trent and Maddox on a helicopter, and the cop was with him. He said, "Oh yeah, we arrested everybody. It's fine. It's done."
Yeah, because that's how jurisdiction works.
Wrapped it up a little too neatly, but I think if you had to salvage this movie, I was okay with how that ended. Now, in Sandcastle, the graphic novel, it's really just a reflection on coming to terms with aging and death and regrets that you have at the end of your life and thoughts that you have at the end of your life, and
human emotion.
Maybe not making peace with that, but just accepting that death is an inevitable part of life.
Things that M. Night Shyamalan doesn't understand.
Human emotion. So, yeah, this movie it's awful. It's good for a one-time hate watch. And then you can't watch it after. I can't go back. I'm glad we took notes because I can't go back and deal with it after this.
That sounds like a coupon.
It's a one-time offer only, and then it's going to be so boring that you won't be able to get through it a second time.
No, there's no way. I can't imagine someone watching this and wanting to see it again.
Okay. So I've got 4 recommendations.
Fuck.
Yeah. Do you want to do yours first?
Okay, you know who does these better, like we said? Animes and Twilight Zone episodes. Just go watch those. That's my first just broad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just do that. Because, okay, well, I'll explain why whenever I get to my things. First, Eden of the East. It's an anime. It's amazing. It's got just a weird premise, and you don't ask questions. It's the first rule. You don't ask fucking questions.
And it has super, chill, trippy opening theme music.
It's a really intense but also very calm, chill show.
Yeah, it's a good summer series.
10 people get a ridiculous amount of money, and they're only given the instructions to save the country, Japan, or maybe the world, and that's it. They have a budget and a little phone that will do anything within that budget, which could mean multiple acts, and it all usually happens very quickly. Don't try to ask anything about how that works. Just have fun with that premise, and then go. That's it. It doesn't fucking try to figure out if mosquitoes pulled all this money together and they're the ones pulling the strings. Stupid ass. Anyway, okay. Well, you go one and then I'll go another.
Okay. Mine would be, as a companion hate watch to Old, would be The Happening by M. Night Shyamalan, with a very whiny Mark Wahlberg and a very dead-eyed, poker face Zooey Deschanel. It's funny because it's bad.
It's like...
And it's boring, but it's also, if you get into really hating it and making fun of it, it can be enjoyable.
It's these two movies are the proof that M. Night Shyamalan literally, like, rips people's talent out of them.
Yeah, because these people can act, but...
It's like, he must go back and tell them to stop acting.
It's like George Lucas.
Like,
I love Star Wars, but the dialogue's so bad, the acting's so bad.
Tone it down, man.
Just deliver the lines like
real
this.
people and real moments aren't that crazy. Yes, they are. Good job.
I almost knocked the microphone over. I was going to say he was only just alive.
But oh god, motherfucker. That's another thing that never happened in Old. No one ever raised their voice except the parents with the kids on the other side of the door. Yeah. It was the only time. It was the only time people should have been quiet. And they weren't.
Yes.
Anyway,
Moving
is that
on.
okay?
No, I have many more. I thought we were going back and forth.
Yeah. Langoliers, which is kind of silly. Like it's a Stephen King miniseries from the 90s. So silly. The CGI at the end is ridiculous, but I enjoy the group trying to figure out how to get out of their situation. I think it's way better than in Old. In Old, they're coming up with, like, hows for what's happening to them, but they can't do anything about it. Like, none of that.
Like, there's a magnetic field on the beach. Well, you can't do anything about that.
Yay! Good job, fucker. Now you know. But in Langoliers, they, like, test things out around them and see how the world reacts around them and what's missing and what's there. And then they make a plan of, like, okay, in these circumstances, we're doing this. They don't give a shit about how, like, it's happening the way it is. So, for that, it's way better. That's my second one.
Okay. I'm going to kind of jump ahead. One of my recommendations would be The Twilight Zone from the 1960s, because it is, they could take this story, Old, and make it an incredible 30 minutes. So,
yes, they could.
That, Devil by M. Night Shyamalan, which isn't great, but it's another one where people are kind of trapped in an enclosed area. They can't leave. There are secrets about people on there, and they're trying to solve a mystery. And it was still kind of dumb.
The dialogue is still really weird, but
it's better than Old.
I'd say it's, like, right in the middle of Shyamalan's things. Like, it's dead center of everything he's done.
Yeah.
It's silly, but it's not so ridiculous that you hate the whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway.
Is that all you got for that one?
Yeah, that's all I have for that one. I have one more.
The hell did I write?
Soylent Green.
Oh, Soylent Green.
With Charlton Heston.
We just watched this recently, and the build up to the end is just really good. Feels very Kubrick-y.
It does feel Kubrick-y.
It's not quite, but it feels like it. And it's another, like, things are not the way they seem and are being controlled by people who are, you know,
larger forces
above the everyday civilian. So that I'll put that in because that's the similar take, but it's so much better. It's also it's Charlton Heston.
Yeah, it's really good. Okay, my final one is one that we kind of came up with together, and that is Midnight Mass, which was a limited miniseries on Netflix. And it was very, very good. It felt like a Stephen King story. The characters and the writing style and everything felt like Stephen King. But what we liked about it is that it took like a supernatural premise, and you didn't really know all the rules. Like, it just kind of accepted that that's what it was. It followed its own rules, even when people tried to figure out how to beat the game. And some people did beat the game at the end. And also, I was raised Catholic, and it was incredibly detailed. So they only missed one little thing about growing up Catholic. But that's what I liked about Midnight Mass, is that it pulls you into this supernatural thing. You don't really understand why it's happening, but you understand how it's affecting all the people.
And I know it's a series, so there's more runtime. But they actually care about the way people feel about what's going on around them. Unlike Shyamalan.
Yeah, the dialogue's great.
I don't know if he's an alien or like a robot.
I think some people can come up with good story ideas, but they're not good at the details like character development and dialogue. Like, they're good at Stephen King talks about this on writing, is that sometimes all you need for a story is that what if idea. Like, what if there was a monster demon clown that lived in the sewers of a small town and killed children every 27 years.
Most of my ideas for books are just started off of like, well, what if? Like, and then that's it.
But then you can't just go on that idea. You have to flesh out the story. You have to have character development. You have to have dialogue. You have to have all those pieces that were missing in all.
What ifs are only good if you either, one, are so well versed in the topic that you can do all those things. Like, what was that Matt Damon movie, The Martian?
Yeah.
Like, there was a lot of science put into the book, so that guy could, he could write that with the, well, what if?
Michael Crichton in Jurassic Park.
Yeah. If it's not that, then you gotta have, like, either a lot of fun with the idea, like Malignant, or you just gotta have, like, some theme or character fleshing out you want to do.
You brought this up earlier. It's so engaging that you don't really question why things are happening in the movie. You brought up was Us by Jordan Peele.
Yeah,
that and Get Out are kind of the same. It's so well written, it's so well told that you do kind of wonder, like, but how is this happening? But you don't really have time to ask those questions. In Old, yeah, you're kind of wondering, but why? How is this happening with the beach? How are they going to get out of this situation? He drags it out for so long and spends so much time on insignificant, dumb things that you just lose interest in it.
Like, if I was stuck in that situation, all I give a shit about is how I'm getting out.
Yeah.
And they keep trying to fucking create reasons that don't help them anyway.
Yeah, so that's all I have to say about this movie.
Oh, this pile of dicks.
It's a big old bag of dicks. It is worth, like I said, worth one hate watch and then put it out of your memory and watch something good. All those things we recommended. So how to find us? We are on Twitch, Discord, YouTube, Anchor, Spotify, iTunes. We're also on Instagram, Movie Pain or Pleasure Podcast. Our next episode will probably be either things to watch when the world is on fire and it's a big pile of garbage and it's making you depressed. And we're also going to introduce our Summer Chill series, which are the animes and movies and TV shows we love to watch in the summer on a day when you've been swimming and maybe you got a popsicle or something and you're relaxing inside with some cool air conditioning. So stay tuned for that. Join our cult. Be my victim.
And don't get old, you old fucks. I guess.